Good afternoon. My name is Gabby Baker, and today we will be talking about the trending topic of fake news. In this presentation, we will discuss what is fake news, when has the issue trended, where fake news is being communicated, and if the format changes the message at all, and how this topic is potentially influencing society and culture. But first, we need to understand what fake news is. Fake news is a type of yellow journalism or propaganda that consists of deliberate misinformation or hoaxes spread via traditional print and broadcast news media, or online and social media. Fake news is written and published with the intent to mislead in order to damage an agency, an entity, or person, and or to gain financially or politically, often using sensationalized or outright fabricated headlines to increase readership, online sharing, and internet click revenue. Another definition from a research article done by Stanford University defines fake news to be articles that are intentionally and verifiably false and could mislead readers. Today, we will specifically focus more on fake news in the United States, given that most of the fake news that we hear about and is relevant to us comes out of the United States. The origins of fake news are complicated. While the concept of fake news has been around since medieval times as a weapon of deceit and bribery used as propaganda, they have been used in a similar manner in every century since then. The actual term fake news has been a fairly recent figure of speech, though. While President Trump has boldly and falsely claimed on camera to the news media that he invented the term fake news, he in fact did not. Intentionally fake news websites have existed for quite a while now. Most of them are satirical and well known to be so, and therefore are not taken seriously in any way. Some examples of this are The Onion, which is one of my personal favorites for a good laugh, and the Christian satirical publication Babylon Bee. Most of the stories are published that are very silly and unrealistic and are therefore easily discredited and pushed to the side with other forms of entertainment. But in 2014, a real problem started to arise. This would pave the way and would kindle the wildfire of fake news that we must pick through now, and that was the Ebola crisis. While real, legitimate news outlets gave this topic some attention in the media, fueled by panic, the public latched onto the story. Fake news outlets, presenting themselves as legitimate news sources, would then start fueling the public's panic and fear with incredibly false news stories. A woman from Connecticut who worked over in Africa as a nurse helping to cure the deadly disease nearly had her life ruined as a result of the panic. The public harassed her and tried to have her unnecessarily quarantined, even though she tested clean and showed no symptoms of Ebola. For a while, the fake news frenzy had died down and was all but gone, or so we thought. This fire would again be fueled by the presidential election campaign of 2016, which was between former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. According to Google Trends, the term fake news started to peak in the September of 2016 and has been part of Trump's vernacular of accusations ever since. In the following months leading up to the election, the name-calling and mudslinging did not cease any, and the instance of Trump accusing people of creating fake news about him seemed to occur almost every day. Meanwhile, fake news was actually in existence, but was widely ignored due to Trump's accusations all over the place. As a result of the confusion, the lines of truth became very, very blurry. President Trump's misunderstanding of what fake news is very hard for us who want to believe legitimate news sources. He does not share the definition that I presented earlier. The president understands fake news to be any news that he does not like or approve of, or news that negatively reflects on him or his administration. In a news report, he publicly discredits reputable news sources, saying, quote, "What could be more fake than CBS, NBC, ABC, and CNN?" Not to say that all of these sources are infallible, but they are accepted and as credible news sources. Trump is not the only politician to call legitimate news stories fake, though, either. Governor Chris Christie has called out media outlets as well. Also, a news reporter was called fake to her face by a Georgia politician who did not like what she had to say. These are not the only examples, but these are very well known. When has fake news trended? The first real spikes of fake news in the media started in about October of 2016 with Trump's first attempts to derail lines of questioning that did not play into his hands politically. Other instances of trending fake news mentions have been in January of 2017 when it became public that Russia may have possibly had a hand in tampering or interfering with the 2016 election. All other peaks also include the summer of 2017 as a whole. More and more people were demanding answers for Russia's actions or potential actions. People were demanding answers from every political entity. Not to mention, scandals ran across celebrities and political entities like wildfire. People like Robert Mueller were also called into question and demanded answers for his actions as well. People also wanted accountability for the campaign promises made during the Trump campaign, now that Trump had settled in about 6 months into his presidency. Where is this topic being communicated? This topic is being communicated in major news outlets such as NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN, all of which Trump had called fake news deliberately. It is also being communicated on internet sites such as the online publication of The Washington Post, BuzzFeed, Politico, Breitbart, left and right-wing sites, and in other low-level publications. It is also being propagated on social media. As we all know, Trump loves his Twitter. The President of the United States has his own Twitter. Many Americans have complained that Donald Trump needs to put down the Twitter. Many of the tweets he posts are opinion-based and not factual. This leaves the door open for extremists on both sides of the political aisle. Fake news websites have taken and twisted his words from unreviewed statements and tweets posted online. Internet trolls also take advantage of this, as does the whole unpleasant side of the internet, as they have a field day with the president's personal opinions. The same has been done to many other politicians with their occasionally hasty postings on social media. Some of it is fake, and some of it is just downright offensive. But between the two of them, many politicians have lost their positions as a result. Does the medium change the message? The short answer, no. The long answer, it's a little more complicated. While major news outlets pride themselves on providing truthful and honest information to the public, this is not all of them. Major news outlets still report on allegations of fake news. This happens so frequently now that Americans are sick of it most of the time and usually don't bat an eye when they hear claims. Where this question gets a little tangled is that when major news networks are not producing the actual fake news itself, the medium changes some in that the internet news outlets report on claims of fake news and investigates them, as well as TV outlets, but some internet sources produce the fake news itself. A lot of fake news comes out of very politically extreme entities such as the aforementioned Breitbart, sources like Alex Jones, and even Fox and Friends on the television side. Outlets on both sides of the aisle are constantly producing quote-unquote news, framed only to show the facts that they want the public to see to help them bolster their political stance. How is the topic potentially influencing society and culture? I want to look at both sides of both secular and religious, since this is a Christian school. The topic is potentially influencing society and culture in that it's creating rampant distrust and villainization of the media and other factual authorities. Being a young person in America, it's very confusing to try and wade through the mess of media that is out there today. I never know what to believe, and certainly have a hard time believing things that I have not vetted against multiple sources myself. Even doing research for this project was a painstaking process, as not only having to corroborate my information against several sources to see if their stories matched, I also had to vet the sources online to see if they were politically inclined in any one direction, and to see if they had any political sympathies to an entity that might influence the way they present their stories. A painstaking process, I assure you. I am not the only one who has to wade through this, though. Society as a whole does not know what to trust anymore, since allegations of fake news have been thrown across the political aisle and in our face every single day. This creates a unique problem for myself as well, as I want to go into the broadcast journalism world, and here my work would be under the microscope every single day. I would have to be sound in every last word I say, as everyone will be viewing it under the microscope. Fake news has real consequences, though, as well. Examples of this came in September of 2016 with the near fatal incident of Pizzagate. Fake news caused a man to walk into a pizza place in Connecticut with an AR-15, thinking he was breaking up a child trafficking ring. It could have been a major shooting if it hadn't been for the quick action of the police, and the man surrendered after realizing that he had been duped by fake news. The effects on Christian culture have been severe as well. This has become such a problem that the Pope himself has made several statements. Pope Francis spoke to the LA Times about speaking the truth. Francis pinned responsibility for the start of disinformation on the crafty serpent known as the devil, who, according to the Bible, at the dawn of humanity first created fake news, in a quote from a news article in the LA Times that the Pope did. He says, "By persuading Eve, there was nothing wrong with eating the apple from the tree of knowledge, despite the stern warning God had said not to do so. The snake, with fake news, began the tragic history of human sin," Francis wrote. People who lie to themselves and listen to their own lie come to such a pass that they cannot distinguish the truth within them or around them, and so lose all respect for themselves and for others. Also a quote from the LA Times article interview with Pope Francis. Such widespread falsity degrades and wears away on our conscience, convincing us that it's okay to lie or to bend the truth in our own way, since everyone else does it. You convince yourself that you have to do what you have to do to get ahead in this world, and therefore also become a propagator of fake news. The effect on culture, and Christian culture as well, is very severe, and it is a very dangerous road that we travel. We must be very careful that we vet our sources and do not propagate fake news. As if we propagate fake news, we will never know the truth.